Frantic fallow. They're damaging crops in Lincolnshire and the only way to shoot them is with a DEFRA night licence.
This is an ambush.
This is an ambush.
We're big on cookery this week. José Souto shows how he teaches top London chefs about game, meat and venison.
Where people can buy them, taste them and become a convert to basically to go.
Meanwhile, Kayak Bryn is making delicious pheasant jerky.
It's worked very well.
Ian Hodge talks about the new shotguns coming from Turkish makers. David has the news on the news stump and James brings you the best YouTube hunting films in this week's Hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. The East Midlands is not short of fallow deer. Whether or not you believe the government's line that there are more deer than there have been for 1,000 or 10,000 years, depending on how urgently they want us to shoot them, there are a lot of deer. And that's one of the reasons we're going shooting under special DEFRA licence once it gets dark tonight. As with any kind of stalking, putting the bullet where you want it is at the top of shooters' minds. It relies on range time and, for one of tonight's shooters, Luke, it's reloading. Whether it's increased accuracy or increased confidence in your cartridge leading to increased accuracy, home loading ammunition works for Luke. And, he says, it's fun.
It's good for confidence, and it's another part of it, isn't it? Making your own bullets is just another factor which makes it enjoyable.
Bullet choice this evening is the VMAX, a thin-jacketed bullet with polymer tip that Hornady originally designed to fragment on impact with vermin, and now stalkers have widely adopted it. Luke explains why.
We're going out night stalking on fallow deer. They vary obviously in body weight. We've took off some big bucks off there, so we want something that's got the stopping power, which like a VMAX does. With 87 grain through 243, it's a quick round, so it's fast expanding ammunition. So pretty much as with any sort of situation with deer, especially at night, we want to try and stop them in spot really, so we haven't got to worry about any runners or anything like that.
Luke talks through the process of what he calls a near-perfect round.
We use brass, which I've shot before, so we're going to take the primers out, the old primer out. Give it a clean, lubricate it, check the size. Cut it down if needs be, because obviously once it's been shot and it's heated up, sometimes it just extends the neck of the cartridge a little bit. So just where it's extended and elongated, we're just going to bring it back down to the right length. So resize that if necessary, load a new primer. From there, depending on the grain weight we want to use for powder, we then load that on the electric scales. Tip it into your case, seat your bullet. One of the main differences between buying factory ammunition and then loading your own is factory ammunition, say for a 243 Winchester, what we're loading today. You buy factory ammunition, it's made to cover every possible rifle across the world. Typically it's made short. When we load our own, we want it to be as tight up in the lance as possible so that it reduces the jump of the bullet into the barrel, which then obviously that little jump can have a big hindrance on accuracy. So we sort of back it off just a tiny bit, like a few thou, just to make sure it's not too tight when you're putting the bolt in, and then we'll go out and test it just to make sure it's performing well.
Sounds like you're making a cup of coffee.
Pretty much, yeah. Step-by-step process.
And you'll end up with this absolutely perfect round with which you cannot miss.
That's the idea. That's the idea.
Out on the range with the sun setting over the Vale of Belvoir, Luke tries out a couple of his new cartridges. Once it gets dark, we will be driving over the border to similar country in Lincolnshire to look for deer that Luke and his shooting buddy Mark Singlehurst have already scouted. Luke gets the satisfactory result he was looking for. It does take time to reload bullets, and most deer stalkers might argue that life being as short as it is, it's easier to buy ammunition off the shelf. Is it cheaper in the long run? Opinion among rifle shooters is split. Luke reckons it is.
Start off with your brass. You buy a bag of 100, etc., but it's not just a one-time use. So that brass then can be used multiple times, which then brings the cost down. Your bullet heads, they vary depending on what you want for calibre, for bullet grain weight, and all those different factors. So it does work out cheaper than buying factory ammunition.
We head out to the ground we're shooting on. First thing we see is the booming population of hares. What we're after is fallow deer. Luke explains what we're going to do.
So we're out tonight on a deer night licence.
We're in Lincolnshire. The main aim, we're looking to go out and control some fallow deer. Within the area recently, South Lincolnshire Deer Society done drone surveying for 3 years, and they estimated about 4,500 fallow around here, about 3.5 on our sort of block. So where we are, well, a lot of large mature woodland, a lot of arable, and the majority of the time they're passing through at night. So even though there's damage to be seen in the day, the deer aren't always necessarily here. So being able to come and control it at night as they're passing through is like our best bet. Different groups pass through at different times. If we get into a group and we can happily control 4, 5, 6, 7, then we will.
It is more complicated than stalking in daytime.
First thing is, obviously we have to register with the local police constabulary to let them know that we're coming out. We have to go through the whole system of identifying who we are, what we're doing, vehicles, etc. And then it's obviously getting into the deer isn't necessarily as difficult in the day because they lose big part of their defence, their sight. But then obviously identifying what we're controlling is the main thing. The deer are doing large or vast damage to arable crops around here at night, so they're not here in the day. And so they're sort of using this ground as sort of like a passing place around this sort of block of the countryside. So the farmers around here have lost thousands of pounds worth of crop yield annually. The woodland that we're stood in now, it's like a 70-acre block of mature woodland. The damage to ground flora is quite vast. So coming here at night is the only time we're ever going to get on top of them.
This is an ambush.
This is an ambush.
Luke and Mark set off from the vehicle in different directions. Is that a recipe for disaster at night? No, not if you know your ground. You know exactly what the plan is and you keep checking on the radio.
Right, roger that. So yeah, I'll drop down to that big grass field on the bottom. Okay, no worries.
The animals appear on cue.
Just come down onto the bottom grass field. How are you getting on?
Drop one, there's a lot coming your way, so be careful. They're in the wood, they'll run through to you.
Roger that.
Luke quickly spots them on the thermal, heading his way.
Got 2 down, both does by the looks of things. The group sort of wrapped around us and then stopped because our wind was sort of blowing slightly towards them. As soon as they got out of our wind, they slowed down. The group at the back have taken one, and then they've split. Luckily, one's run back towards us, and I've managed to take that one as well. So yeah, 2 on the ground.
Happy days.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, got 2 down. Got a yearling pricket and a doe.
Well done. So I'm just trying to find mine now.
Roger that. Do you need a hand or are you good?
No, I'm good. So I'll meet you down the bottom.
Roger that. There's a big group, you know the far Christmas tree sort of block past the beans. There's a big group coming across there onto the beans.
Luke goes to see if he can get onto the group of animals in the bean field, but they wind him. Mark and his dog find the animal he shot. That's 3 on the ground in just a few minutes. When we covered night shooting under licence in Scotland with Neil Rowntree, extraction of the carcasses was a problem. Here on Lincolnshire pasture, it's easy with a mule.
Yeah, dead straightforward. We'll just drive around, pick them all up. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Done.
Should be in McDonald's by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, in McDonald's before closing.
Yep, perfect.
To watch our film about night shooting with Neil Rowntree and for more from Vale, Field and Game, follow the links below. Thanks, Luke and Mark. Now, in this week's Fieldsports Extra, we have a medical man, a home loader, and a professional hunter at the sharp end of the media.
Yeah, it blew out of proportion.
Also in Fieldsports Extra, we are giving away a medical kit donated by Jackal Medical, which also provides medical training for shoots, and it had a stand at the British Shooting Show. Link to it below. Easiest way to win is to watch Fieldsports Extra, which goes out the night before this show, only to Fieldsports members. Easiest way to watch Fieldsports Extra is to join those members, the Fieldsports Nation, and we'll send you a goodie box link to that below. Next, from cuts and bruises to the complete stitch-up, that is David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News.
A new documentary claims Scotland's rural communities are at war with each other, with conservation at the centre ground and threats of violence against children. During research for his new film, The Last Keeper, director Tom Opre uncovered claims that keepers had been threatened by aunties in their own communities, and their children were told they would have acid thrown in their faces. Tom says the disconnect between people living in rural areas and in towns and cities shows a disturbing breakdown in society. His film features Highland communities and is due for release in the UK this spring. You can see a full interview with Tom and the official trailer for the film in the link below.
I had heard stories about children being ostracized in school, keepers being ostracized in their own communities, children's having potentially threatened with acid thrown in their face. People are literally utilizing the internet to say some pretty strong, powerfully hate-filled comments towards people they don't even know.
The Irish government has extended the deer stalking season by up to 3 months. The open season has another 3 months for male deer and a month for females and antlerless young males. The season for red and seeker stags and fallow bucks now runs from the 1st of August to the 30th of April, except in Kerry, where it closes on the 31st of December. Females and young males now runs from the 1st of November to the 31st of March, except in Kerry. Ireland has 6,000 registered deer stalkers. Ireland's Deer Management Strategy Group says the move will reduce road accidents and help crops, forestry and rural biodiversity. Southern Water has been fined £300,000 for polluting a stream and killing around 2,000 fish. Scores of wild brown trout were found dead along a 2-mile stretch of a tributary of the River Hamble. The water company admitted it allowed raw sewage to escape into a stream at Fairthorn Manor in Hampshire. Magistrates heard sewage poured into the river for up to 20 hours after 2 pumps failed and the company ignored warning alarms. Chris Packham is heading back to court, where he hopes to force the government to speed up its ban on petrol and diesel cars. The TV presenter has been granted permission by a judge to hold a judicial review into the government's decision to abandon or delay promises it made around green policies. The government pledged to reduce carbon emissions as part of the 2008 Climate Change Act. In September, it announced a new timetable for banning petrol and diesel vehicles. The Department of Energy Security said it will strongly oppose the action, which, if he carries it out, will cost Packham and his supporters at least 6 figures. Meanwhile, celebrities who disturb nesting birds to take photographs or make films could be prosecuted. That's the warning from the British Trust for Ornithology. Last year, Chris Packham was reported to police for allegedly disturbing a goshawk nest and sniffing the chicks on TV during a programme. In what looks like trophy photographs, licensed bird ringers take celebrities, politicians and even groups of children to nests of endangered birds and pass the chicks among them for photographs. The BTO expresses concern over the number of nests affected by these activities and have made an urgent change to its licensing protocols. It has messaged all those with permits allowing the handling of wild birds for ringing, warning handling them should be kept to a minimum. Disturbance of a Schedule 1 bird is a crime under the Wildlife and Countryside Act. Game farmers preparing for next season's shooting believe their industry is on the up after a tough couple of years. Problems with bird flu, import restrictions for broodstock and eggs, the GL43 licence and the financial knock-on effect of COVID left some game farms in trouble. One of the biggest producers in the UK is Bettis Hall in mid-Wales, which hatches around 800,000 chicks a week at the peak of its season. Its marketing manager, Mark Brown, believes at last the future looks bright.
Our numbers have been very good regardless. We're very lucky at Bettis. We have a high retention rate of clients. But the quality of the days have just been increasing and improving, and the season's got bigger and bigger and better every season, which is great.
However, BASC has criticised DEFRA's new delay in agreeing policy covering the release of game birds. DEFRA is due to clarify the GL43 general licence, which in 2023 banned the release of birds near special protection areas or SPAs. In the latest clash with government over game bird release, BASC says the delay in announcing specific terms for general licences has come without sufficient communication from the government department. Agricultural College Harper Adams is offering the new PDS1 deer stalking qualification. The new course, developed by Peter Jones of County Deer Stalking and the Capriolas Club, has been launched as an alternative to the DSC1 course. It is LANTRA approved, which was important to the college, and it offers an online course instead of the DSC1's classroom course.
People realised, I think, that they didn't necessarily want to go and spend a few days in a classroom going through the theory element of a deer stalking course. So what we did is we set up an online course on an e-learning platform.
And finally, there's some doubt whether it was killed in Zambia or Zimbabwe, but if verified, this black mamba could be a new world record. It reportedly measures 6.8 metres, beating the previous biggest at 4.5 metres by nearly half. The black mamba is Africa's largest venomous snake and is fatal in 20 minutes without anti-venom. You are now to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And David, needy as ever, asks if you would like, subscribe, or both of those under this film. Next, top game chef José Souto shows off game to a group of restaurant chefs. Eating what we shoot is a vital part of getting the public to understand and accept field sports, what we sometimes call the social licence. It's not just about eating what we shoot ourselves. The more people who get a taste for eating wild game meat and venison, the better. José Souto is on the front line of putting venison, pheasant, partridge and hare on people's plates. José is not just a passionate hunter himself, he's an award-winning game chef and a lecturer at Westminster Kingsway College. He trains the chefs who end up working in some of the top foodie establishments in London and beyond.
Definitely. I mean, within 2 years of leaving here, our students basically have buying power. So that means that we've educated them to put venison and game on their menus. Now, in the last 2 years, what I've tried to do here is I've tried to position venison as basically the fourth product. And with the help of two guys, Lincolnshire Game and Highland Game, that have helped us basically put on these days, we've been able to do that. We've been able, from our first years that come in, all the way through to our third years, position game and especially venison as the fourth meat, and Highland Game has really helped us doing that, And with these guys here today, I mean, you're creating ambassadors for the product.
Today's group isn't José's regular students. It's mostly chefs who already work in clubs, hotels and restaurants, many of them in the capital.
I've been here nearly 20 years now, and when I came here, one of the reasons why I got this job was because of basically the game stuff that I do. So what I started doing when I first came here is I wanted to give chefs more of an introduction into game, into understanding it and understanding the provenance and the background of game. So we've done 2 of these every year for the last 20 years. And we have, today we had, nearly 40 people here. And they are chefs from all parts of the industry. So what you've got is guys from some of the clubs in London, you've got guys from Galvin's restaurant here, House of Commons, we've got people from all walks of life, basically, not only chefs. I mean, there's some of basically your guys from the Fieldsports channels have also been here as well. And it's all want to understand game. And it's really popular. Twice a year, it's very, very popular. We do a lot of them. And on top of that, it's exactly the same thing as I teach my students, and all the students that we have here for the last 20 years, we've taught all of the background on game and obviously on venison as well.
José shows the students every type of venison and game they're likely to come across in the UK. He stresses that the birds and animals have led a wild, natural and free life and were killed quickly and ethically.
Yeah, I mean, provenance is a massive thing, and also traceability, ethical buying, all those sorts of buzzwords are massively important. The thing that's happened is at the moment we're on an economic downturn, so people are being a bit more careful about basically what money they spend and what they're buying. And so supermarkets have a major share of what people are buying when it comes to food. As we start to come out of this economic downturn, and believe me, the UK basically tends to come out of the economic downturns faster than a lot of other countries, people will start to go out, and they'll start to eat in restaurants again. And the supermarkets are led by what is being. I mean, a lot of the development chefs that are in supermarkets come from basically fine dining backgrounds, and so the products that they're putting on the shelves and the products that are on there are because it's being demanded. I mean, if you look at some of the major supermarkets here in the UK, such as I think Aldi and Tesco's and that stuff, venison's been included in there, and you have things like venison lasagnas. We have venison going into the NHS. Basically big catering companies are basically starting to look at venison and game birds. There's all sorts of things like that are basically, and what we've got to do is ensure we help it as much as possible, by basically talking about it, talking about the background, talking about the good work that goes on with it, and giving people tastings of it and saying to them, look, try it, let me know what you think. I think too many people have a perceived idea about game, and it's when you lay the facts bare and honestly in front of them, you can change their mind quite quickly.
So what can regular stalkers and shooters do to help spread the word about eating game?
I would say introduce as many people as possible. I mean, I've written loads of articles where I've said to people, get somebody who is a venison virgin, if you like, or a person that doesn't understand or has never eaten it before, and that think they understand it or that they think they've had good venison before when they've not, and change their mind. Convert people to it, explain to them basically about all the good work, which is what we've done today. Explain about conservation aspects, explain about basically deer management aspects, and how good this product is. For chefs in the UK, we're really lucky that we can harvest wild game and put it on the plate in front of people. If you go to America, basically pheasants come out of cages like our chickens do, and all venison that's harvested in America basically can only be eaten at home. It cannot be put into any restaurants or anything like that, again, unless it comes from a farm. We don't want to go down that route. We need to basically, all the game that we have, all of this wild harvest that we have throughout the year and basically throughout the season, we need to ensure that that's going into restaurants and into supermarkets, and that people are eating it, enjoying it, and understanding it.
José is encouraged to see game and venison on sale in supermarkets up and down the country, and at affordable prices too.
Aldi is one of the biggest sellers of venison in the UK, and they have all manner of basically different portions and stuff, and we've done some great development work with them with Highland Game and producing stuff that, if you like, is what they call entry level. And when you have entry level product, especially on venison with those, then it produces something that people are liable to spend not a lot of money on, taste it, think, I like venison. And the same thing with Lincolnshire Game's done exactly the same thing with basically game birds into some of the supermarkets, have entry-level products that are not that expensive where people can buy them, taste them, and become a convert to basically to game.
The message is, persuade your family and friends to try the things you shoot and let them know it's available at sensible prices in their local supermarket. If you're interested in José's game seminars at Westminster Kingsway, there's a link below. You can follow him on Instagram and buy his latest book, Feathers, on Amazon. There are links to those below too. Thank you, José. We identified Aldi as top game supermarket in our film and article about how and where to buy venison. Link to that below. Next, butchery equipment maker Weschenfelder comes to life in the hands of Kayak Bryn, who's making, this week, Pheasant Jerky.
We've done the videos on jerky before, but that's mainly with red meats like venison. However, today we're going to do like a pheasant jerky. We're still using the Atacama machine, the dehydrator that we've got from Weschenfelder. It's a really, really good way of utilising, if you've got extra birds, or you want a snack for the field, if you're going out shooting or picnic or whatever. So yeah, we're gonna slice these breasts. This is the way I do it, diagonally and down, about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'll keep the legs, and what I'll do with the legs is either make some stock, some soup, or if I get enough for them, I'll make a casserole. Work the knife as close to the cavity as possible till it all peels off, like that. I'm going to add the soy sauce. I'm probably going to add a good, maybe like 2 tablespoons of soy sauce in there. 1.5 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, a very healthy glug of maple syrup. That would be another 2 tablespoons. I quite like it sweet, so if you don't like it that sweet, don't put as much in. Some white pepper, and I've probably got about 1/2 teaspoon there. I'm going to pop in 1/2 teaspoon of onion salt, and a generous covering of sage, and lastly 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. Just mix that all around, and then that's going to marinate now overnight till tomorrow, and then we're going to place them in the rack. Again, in good Blue Peter fashion, luckily for us, we have already made a batch. We're going to pull out the dehydrator, so we don't have to wait that long. So I'm going to put that to the side, and that's going to go in the dehydrator tomorrow. I'm going to rinse my hands, and then I'm going to show you what we made earlier. In the dehydrator, the Atacama, it's got lots of different settings. This has been on A4, which is hot. It goes up to 68 degrees. Obviously, being poultry, it's not as hazardous as chicken, but still, it needs to be cooked thorough. 68 degrees is fine, and this has been cooking for about 8 hours now, so we'll pull that off. We've let it cool slightly already. So we'll pull that out and we'll have a look at how it looks. The first two chop trays here. We've already peeled some of these off the trays. Now they look absolutely delicious, and they're done perfectly. You can see that. Nice colour to it, cooked all the way through, or dried all the way through. Snaps in half, which is what you want. You want it to bend as such, so if you can just like snap it like that, that's good. So let's just taste this and see if it's worked very well. You know, once you've got a dehydrator, you don't have to just do like pheasant jerky or venison jerky. You can do mushrooms in autumn, you can do fruits, you can make fruit leather, all types of things with it. And it's a really, really useful tool. If you're like me, if someone likes to go shooting and you do get quite a few birds, and I do give some to family and friends, but to be able to kind of preserve some and have some throughout the next few months is absolutely brilliant.
Looks delicious. Thanks, Kai. The Peruvians, believe it or not, brought us jerky. Next up, Ian Hodge from Cornwall brings us two Turks. As any Englishman will tell you, only the English ever made guns. Then the Scots started doing it and the Spanish followed, and soon the Italians were doing it, and in the last few decades there is a new kid on the monoblock.
In the last 20 odd years, and more so in the last 10 years, the guns coming in from overseas have improved in quality and price compared to some other guns, shall we say. So that's opened up the world of shooting to a whole new audience who can then afford to buy new guns. We've gone out of the gateway to Asia to Turkey. I think I'm right in saying that the Turks are the largest, if you can call it that, they're in Europe, because they're sort of in Asia and in Europe, but they are the largest, I believe, manufacturer of guns in Europe now. But quite a few shotguns have been coming in for a number of years. We've got Koff, ATA, Hatsan, various other ones that are not quite so well named, Yildits. So they're all made in Turkey. I've just got a couple here which are certainly budget, but they haven't compromised on quality. Well, this is the Koff, a nice lightweight gun. Possibly if you were shooting lots and lots, it may be a bit light for somebody, for some person shooting a heavy cartridge and doing a lot of it. But you know, it's a lovely gun to carry around, and with the right cartridges, there's no issue at all with them. You've got ones that are just starting out, ones that don't shoot very much. They want a reasonable gun. They don't want to spend £2,000, so they go for one of these. And we do get it to people that are coming to the end of the shooting and they want a lightweight gun. Really to carry around. The oldest person we sold one to was 96. He was one of the first soldiers, he told me, to relieve Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. His wife came in as well, and he just wanted a gun to stand up in the yard with his grandsons and sons on Boxing Day. She didn't think he would actually walk the fields. This is the ATA arms. This one's a little bit more refined, as in a little bit more ornate, better quality wood, so hence it's a little bit more money, but it's single trigger, ejector, multi-choke, nice. It's not heavy gun, but it's heavy enough. Again, we sell lots of these. This will cover anybody and everybody, whether you're doing a lot of clays, a lot of game shooting, a good reliable gun. You've got wood on this gun that you would put on a high-end Italian gun. And this is on a relatively budget gun, so they don't skimp on the walnut, the Turkish. So you're buying a budget gun with high class wood on it. Both of these guns have got a very good UK importer, and if there is an issue, which to be honest isn't very often, but if there is, it's sorted out immediately. It's not got to go back to Turkey, let's put it like that.
For more from Ian Hodge Fieldsports, visit his website ianhodgefieldsports.co.uk. Thanks, Ian. Now from Cornwall to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, brought to you by James Marchington. It is Hunting YouTube.
Here's my pick of the best hunting and shooting videos I've found on YouTube this week. First up, Sergey from this unpronounceable Russian channel is hunting beavers at night with a 308 carbine fitted with a thermal scope. If you switch on the captions, you can have Google translate into English, which helps understand what's going on. From beavers to gobblers, Brett and John from the Mossberg channel take out their hunt giveaway winner for an exciting opening day turkey hunt in New Hampshire. Not sure what Tony Blair would make of this one. Outdoor Fever are using greyhounds to hunt coyotes, spotting their quarry across the wide open fields and outmaneuvering them in their trucks before releasing the dogs. Next, Clay Newcomb gets more than he bargained for when he goes hunting and trapping wolves in Alaska and learns how it's all about managing a balance rather than eradication. Meanwhile, Dan Pickar is on pest control, shooting prairie dogs on grassland and sharing some tips on improving your accuracy with a rifle. Back to the UK, and Fieldsports member John Bailey gets a call from a farmer who's seen a big dog fox hanging around his lambing field. John grabs his Accuracy International rifle in 6.5 Creedmoor and heads off to save the day. Next, here's a French film of a memorable driven hunt with some great footage of successful shots on wild boar, roe and red deer. Finally this week, thanks to Tom from the Ash Tree Shoot for sending in this film of their Boxing Day outing, made by a friend of the shoot, with some rousing music and lots of drone footage and interesting camera angles. Well, that's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, jamesm@fieldsportschannel.tv.
Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so already, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click to like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page and we'll contact you about this show. Fieldsports Britain, it's at 7 PM UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.